Cardinals and Cubs fans. It is April 12th, and this week on the Team Rivals podcast, just Elliott and I, Pete's out, so we are going to talk about the official start of the 2018 base brawl season. We'll also get into the most recent series that the Cardinals and the Cubs had at home. Neither turned out really as we wanted them to. A little bit of interesting Marlins sound bites coming at you a little bit later. The Team Rivals podcast starts now.
Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. Bringing a high drive into left. Back goes the Craig. He's at the track. He has it. The world champion for 2011. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it, go to Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
This is the Team of Rivals podcast. No insiders, no anonymous sources, just passionate analysis from the bleacher seats. Here are your hosts, Ron Nuttall and Peter Geddes.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. I like being back to our regularly scheduled time, Elliott. I know we've missed a couple weeks of that, but it's
it's been crazy with travel, and
it has been
the season starting. You were on vacation. Pete was out in LA. By the way, I got my pink hat today, Pete.
I got my pink hat today. Yeah,
thank you.
It's a kid size though; it won't fit over my grape.
Actually, when I pulled it out of the bag, my wife's like, "Oh, that's nice." She's like, "Can I have that?" So I'm like,
and you said yes.
I said yes. I said you can have this pink Dodgers hat.
Yeah, I put it on, and it didn't fit. It was a beanie. So I was gonna have it on.
Sat on top.
I was gonna have it on, but wouldn't fit. My head's grown. I'm a grown boy. So yeah, I was going to invite a third guest on here tonight. So I went to the Cardinals Nation admin group to see if any could, and several could not. Unfortunately, my message to him was, "Pete's out. Got to get a third tonight because we suck with two." But we'll have to.
I wouldn't say we suck. It's just more entertaining with the three of us.
More entertaining, because what we're not going to have tonight, Elliott, is we're not going to have Cub fan rage from Pete. Just that anger that he cannot hold back when it has anything to do with Cardinal and wrongdoing. It's like extra justice from Pete.
Yeah. 1 game suspension. Voodoo. It's just like, well, they're probably like, it was his off day anyways. So.
Well, it ended up being that. In fact, it's probably the only way he'll actually end up taking a day off. But just looking back at that whole thing that happened, and a lot of Cardinal fans, of course, it'd be this way with a lot of fan bases. Let's face it, right? You get one of your star players, it's suspended for a game, and it automatically, just almost like an auto response, like no thought required. He shouldn't have got suspended, right? But if you think about it, Major League Baseball had to do it. They could not afford to not do it, because then they open themselves up to the next time this happens. And
I mean, his reaction and going up against, touching the umpire. I mean, like he was saying, is like Wilson Contreras' face mask bounced off the ground and bounced into the umpire last year, and he got a 2-game suspension.
Yeah, well, I think what kept Yachty's though, Elliott, is the fact that I think it's just the umpire statement afterwards probably kept it at that 1 game. If it wouldn't have been for that umpire commenting or reporting on it like he did, maybe it would have been a few more. But you look at how it happened, and the umpire was getting himself in between the two. So there was going to be some contact, right or wrong. There was going to be some contact, but it's for Major League Baseball's sanity down in the future. They had to suspend him, no matter how many games it was. Thankfully, as a Cardinal fan, I'm happy it was only 1. Could have been more. And you could argue that it should be, but I think at least what stays intact is you make contact, there's going to be a suspension coming. Right. So, okay.
Speaking of contact, did you see what Tyler Austin and Joe Kelly got?
I did not see the punishment yet. No.
The Boston, the Boston
Kelly
brawl. Kelly got 6. Tyler Austin got 5.
That's a lot. Because Kelly's a relief pitcher. I think he's a relief pitcher this year. He's been a relief pitcher for the last few years.
Yeah.
So you take a starter out for 6 games, they miss a start. Big deal.
Right.
You take a reliever out like that, it's probably 2 or 3 appearances that he won't be able to make. So that's a little stiffer.
That's right.
Yeah. But no, before we got on here, I wanted to see the highlights of that. I've been listening to it about it on the radio. All the guys on MLB Network talking about their experiences with. All right, here we go.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, B. You're on live. You're on live again.
We've missed you the last few times.
Yeah, where have you been?
He's probably been playing MLB The Show.
Oh, I don't think he can hear us. Oh. Hang. Bray, can you hear us? I don't even see us. Do you hear us? Poor connection. That's why you couldn't hear us. Here we go. Here we go again. Hang on.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, can you hear us?
Are
we too soft?
I can hear you. I can't hear Peter.
Well, they're not talking right now. Say hi, Elliot.
Hello.
Whoa.
I must be a little loud.
Magical. No, he's watching the game right now. So the Cardinals. So we could segue into that briefly, and when Elliot and I got to go back to our conversation, we were talking about all the base brawling going on, Braden. All the fighting in baseball has turned into hockey.
Kelly?
Yep.
Former Cardinal.
Your former favorite Cardinal.
Yeah, I have an autographed baseball of him, actually.
Yeah? Did he throw it at you? After
98 miles per hour.
That's great. I'd like to update everyone on who is the leader so far of the Shu Wong-O Award of the Year.
Okay.
So far, Dominic Leone is in that #1 slot.
Oh, so it's a Cardinals exclusive award going forward.
Yeah. So far, Dominic Leone holds that #1 slot.
You sure it's not Holland yet?
Huh?
Sure it's not Greg Holland?
No, yeah. I mean, it was his first appearance, so I got to cut him some slack.
Who would you rather have right now, Brady?
If he blows this game tonight, he will definitely probably be taking the award home no matter what happens.
All right. Yeah, for those of you who may be listening for the first time tonight, my son had violent reactions to the performance of Sung Wong Oh, especially early in last season. There would be we usually record live every Thursday night, and just by coincidence, a couple of the blow-ups that he had in the bullpen that happened to happen on recording night, and Braden couldn't help himself and had to bust into the show to give us his disappointing, rage-fueled assessment of the Cardinals games on those evenings. So he's calmer tonight, but the way the bullpen has been, had they blown a couple games already, he's aging fast. He's only 13. He looks like he's 22.
Yep.
The voice hasn't caught up to a 22-year-old yet, but it'll get there. So Braden, I got to ask you a quick question. So how is your MLB 18 season going? I mean, how many have you played right now? Have you like 12, 13, 15 seasons already?
I'm in a season where the best player on the Cardinals is a computer-generated player.
Oh, you gave him the highest stats and batting power, and you basically gave him Shohei Ohtani ratings for all 5 tools.
No, I'm not a cheater. I do my seasons very authentic.
Okay, fair enough.
Very smoothly.
All right, Braden, put your ear. Elliot, I wanted to get into this later. We'll do it a little bit later. I told Chris I was going to call him on via the phone line, and so he can say hi tonight, because I have a clip that I want him to hear too. I thought about saving this for tomorrow night, but I really got to get it out tonight. So Braden, the Cardinals are up. Are they up 12-4 still? Is that still the
13-4? Actually.
13-4. They have 4 home runs this game, unless there's been another one.
No.
14 home runs, 4 home runs. And I was going to talk about some of the Cardinals, who's performing on offense and who's not, who's hot and who's cold on offense. We're going to get into that a little bit later too. But let's talk about the first one already. Jose Martinez. Where did this guy come from? He got a lot of at-bats last year. And amazingly enough, he was sent down at one point to make room for Grichuk coming back up. But that ended quick. That didn't last very long. But this guy is really going to – it's going to be an impossible decision if they get a squad 100% healthy and full. Got to keep his bat in the lineup if he's going like this. He's really he's been the most consistent. Put him in that damn 3-hole. See what he can do. Right now he's not batting there. He's like in the 5th spot, which is fine. And maybe that's the perfect spot for him. But for a few games, put your hot hand in that 3-hole. Just see what happens. I mean, for crying out loud, Fowler batted 3rd last year. Pham, I think, got a couple shots at 3rd last year, batting in the 3-hole last year. Carpenter's he's not doing that well. He's struggling again in the 3-hole. Yes, I know this is only the 13th game, but it feels almost like somebody hit the replay button on him last year to this year.
Right.
So, Braden, any other updates for us? Any
April 22nd, look for me in the stands in Busch Stadium. I'll be there.
Who are they playing?
The Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati. Hey, you know what, Braden? I can't look for you in the stands because I can't watch the damn games against the Reds like the one tonight. Because this is Cincinnati's market right here in Charlotte. Cincinnati claims this is a TV market. 8 hours away. Love it. I can't watch the game for the next 4 days. So, son, enjoy that game. I will not even have a chance to find you in the stands. Except on a replay after.
Pete, Elliott, look for me. Dad,
we'll look for you.
The giveaway is a Dexter Fowler bobblehead, and you will get one.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Sweet.
Saving one for you.
You're my favorite oldest kid.
Thank you.
All right.
But look for me.
You have school tomorrow.
Bobblehead.
You have school tomorrow.
No, I don't, because it's Teacher Institute Day.
All right. Well, you just sit tight then.
Teacher only day.
Can you believe that?
Oh,
like, do you remember getting those many days off? I mean, these kids these days.
No. Well, they also go a little longer now, don't they go into the middle of June?
This is our first teacher day in like 2 months. So.
Oh, no.
In 2 months.
Yeah, I've been dying.
All these young people, they want to get out of school. They want to get out of school and work. Well, you don't get.
Well, my
work
mom has to go to work, but I know.
Yeah.
Oh, Pham just made an amazing catch to win the game. He just made a sliding catch to win the game. In Ozuna, about 3 innings ago.
We should call him in over the summer just to do the last out for us.
Yeah.
That was okay.
All right, B, we got to plug on because I gotta give Chris Lawless a call in here too. I'll tell him you said hi.
All right, yeah.
All right, so
ask him if he wants a Dexter Fowler bobblehead too, because I'll get one for him.
All right, I will.
All
right, big boy. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Love you.
All righty.
All right, bud. Bye.
See you, Brett.
Bye.
He knows he can call, or when I call him like a half an hour. He knows, man. He's no dummy. What was our topic? It was still base brawling, wasn't it?
Base brawling. Yep.
Base brawling. So,
we were talking about Yachty.
Oh yeah.
In his one game, and that they had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm. This is gonna sound weird coming from me. Look at the shirt I'm wearing, right? Look at my background, but
yeah.
I just think, Yachty's going to play for 3 more years, and they can't set a precedent like this. So I think they had no choice. So he got a 1-gamer. Fine, it's already over. We move on. Some are going to look at this and go, Cardinals got to lighten the penalty once again for something else. Pete and I went back and forth on that last year when the Hackgate thing went down.
Right.
I was kind of like I was actually surprised the Cardinals didn't have more of a punishment. I was.
I think everybody was. I think everybody was expecting loss of picks in the draft. They were expecting
they lost 2
fines.
Yeah, they lost their top two, and there was a fine, but it wasn't a very big amount. No. But the biggest thing that needed to happen there, just my opinion, Pete felt differently. The biggest thing that needed to happen in that instance was a message be sent that if you are working for an organization and you do something like that, you're going to end up in jail, right? Now, baseball can't put anybody in jail.
No.
But baseball could have penalized them a lot more. But I think baseball struggled to assess what damage was actually done. I think that was a hard thing. It had to be a hard thing to determine, like, what did he see? What did he share? Did anybody know about it? I mean, those are very, very, very hard things to prove out.
Oh, yeah. What information did they gain? What players did they actually go after from the information that they gained?
Exactly. And I think it was just too difficult to determine exactly what benefit, what advantage did they get from that. And I think they were just hung up. Now, I think Pete was kind of on the fence too, that, hey, this is a DeWitt knowing Manfred buddy thing that, and there could be something to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think in this instance, the Cardinals probably could have appealed a more harsh penalty and I think come out on top, because how do you prove it? Right. Which is just unfortunate. I'm glad that shit is done. Because that lingered for over a year. What was going to happen about that. So I was actually relieved last year once it was just over. But I am too surprised that more didn't happen. In this case, I'm not. I think given the umpire's statements about the contact that was made, it was a game and that was it. And, anything happens like that again, now they have it's not they didn't have a precedent before, but now they have one, and they have at least one that's more on the right track, just in my opinion. So that's done. But then we've got, I look at this and the incident with Joe Kelly, he threw at the guy and missed, right?
No, Joe.
I have it the wrong way.
He hit him in the elbow. That was the Colorado game.
Oh, okay. So I got the wrong. All right. The instance when you miss a guy and then you come right back and hit him, that is always that seems to, like, without a doubt, almost by default, evoke an extremely strong reaction from the player, right? From the player that's being thrown at,
right?
It's
especially when you're throwing 98 miles per hour. Now,
yeah, right.
If you're hitting him with the breaking ball, still you're looking at 80 some, but you're not throwing up towards his head with almost 100 mile per hour ball.
Yeah, that's probably the bad move. Now, the other thing too that we could probably get into a debate on here is, who do you hit? Because there's a lot of talk today, a lot of things being read about just guys pimping home runs in a situation where it's kind of you probably shouldn't do that. Being a game like, you're up 5, 6, 7 runs and it's late in the game and you pimp a home run off some reliever, it's probably not the right time to do it. If it's a walk-off game-winning deal, that's a little different. There's some, emotion there. There's some fire because, a close game, or if you tie a game, there's just scenarios where feels like it's more okay or it's acceptable. And then there's times when you don't. So there was a debate today. I heard that, who do you throw at? Do you wait for that guy to come up again or wait till the next game to throw at him? Or is the psychology on the team that is guilty of hitting a player, is it better psychology to hit the guy immediately after him so that guy has to go into the dugout eventually and talk to the player that pimped the home run, and maybe they get into a fight?
I've seen it all.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling, based off of last night's game between the Cubs and the Pirates, that either Javier Baez is going to get hit with a pitch the next time they see each other, or Chris Bryant's going to get hit with a pitch. And
they're going to have that conversation.
Right.
I think it sounds like they already have, though. And I'm glad you brought that up. So let's segue into that real quick. So base brawling, most everybody who's either watching this or going to listen to this is very familiar with what has taken place between Boston and New York. Yeah, actually the nice thing about that, let me say that before we move into what happened in the game against Pittsburgh. It is kind of nice to see the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry back.
Yeah, it's right? Exciting because they're both really good, and the fact that they're physically fighting on the field, it's going to make it a series to watch the remainder of the season. So,
Yeah.
and actually, I have it on right now, and Porcello had a no-hitter going to the 7th and just lost it a little bit ago. So,
Well, they're up, right? So
yeah, Boston's up 6-0 right
Boston.
now going into the top of the 8th.
Boston will strike back tonight. So before we get into what happened at the Cubs game, the bat flip, let me do something here real quick, and we'll see if we can say hi. I didn't know it would ring out loud.
Oh, that's all right.
I really didn't know that. Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's up?
Hey. Wanted to call you real quick because one, we're starting to talk about we just started getting into talking about the Cubs and Pirates and Javier Baez bat flip.
Yeah.
For a pop out, by the way.
Right.
But before we get into that, before we get
did
into
it because he was pissed.
Before we even get into that, Chris and I talked last night. We're both huge fans of the Dan Lebatard show. And I don't know how I missed this, but I'll set this up for you a little bit. So they've been all over the Marlins down there. You know, if you don't know, the Dan Lebatard show is based out of Miami.
Oh, yeah.
So
he gave Manfred
all over. We
talked about
show
that.
back in December, right? It was Lebatard versus Manfred was the title of our show because he grilled him, you know, on a radio interview. But I don't know how I missed this. One of their guys that works for them, you know, kind of not really behind the scenes because he's on air a little bit, but one of their guys, he goes by the name of Guillermo, was at the game and called in right as the Marlins were throwing the first pitch of the season against the Cubs. And Elliott, you know what happened, so hang on, because this was their coverage of the first pitch of the Marlins season.
Oh, I didn't see.
Here we
this.
go.
This is amazing.
Here we go. Oh, wrong. Hold on. Hang on. I swear to God, I have it on here. Pete would be all over my ass right now for not doing this right. All right, here we go.
And this happened live on the radio. Guillermo at Cubs opening day.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
And the windup and the pitch. Oh, God, a home run on the first pitch of the game.
Welcome, Derek Jeter, and that concludes our Marlins coverage for the season.
Oh, that's amazing.
You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I missed that because I usually I catch that show at least on their best of version every day. I must not have listened to that day. Shame on me. But they've been all over them, and nothing more perfect could have happened for that show than to have the first pitch of the season end up with a home run. Unfortunately, it was against a Cub. But Ian Happ on his way to 15 leadoff home runs this year. What better start to get off on? But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to play that. I thought it was hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah. So Chris, I don't know if I know you obviously don't follow the Cubs, but at least the one thing I can respect that they have done, we were talking about the situation where Javier Baez flipped his bat out of anger or whatever, but he had hit 4 home runs. Two home runs in back-to-back games for a total of 4, and then flipped his bat on an out, eventually a fly ball out that he had made. And sounded like the Pittsburgh manager at least noticed and took exception to it, but did acknowledge that, there's probably some guys in the Cubs clubhouse that talked to him, and evidently, Elliott, from what you read, they have talked to him, and Joe Madden. So that's the one thing the Cubs do have going for them is they are policing themselves, and it sounds like Joe doesn't really have to get involved in things like that or have those conversations because the players are doing it.
Well, did you see the response from Javi?
Yeah, that's
no, I
there's
didn't.
a difference.
So Javi took exception to what Clint Hurdle said. He told him he can save it.
Ooh, no, I missed it.
Yeah. So this is today after the game, and he says, "I bust my ass every day to play hard. No one plays harder than me. I respect 90." It's like, but you don't go out there and you talk trash about someone. He's like, to be honest, he's like, I got a lot of things I can say right now, but I don't control what's out there. It's like what people talk about me. He's like, I'm just going to keep playing my game. He's like, we won last night and it got to him. We lost the series, but we're still the same. He's like, I'm happy. He's like, we got music in the clubhouse. He's like, there's nothing to take personal. He's like, people that talk about me, he's like, they can save it. He's like, I don't control it. He's like, I don't really care about it.
That's probably a very good response to that. Chris, you have an opinion on any of that? At least what's happening in that clubhouse, that environment, the fact that the manager doesn't have to have those kinds of conversations with these players because the players do it.
I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, to me, there's a difference in having a little bit of swag when you're performing well, but it's another thing when, you know, your team's struggling a little bit and, you know, at least they're kind of taking it into their own hands. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying that the Cardinals clubhouse does not do that kind of thing, but it is, unfortunately, it is a Cub thing right now, and so we have to acknowledge it. But you know, who doesn't want their clubhouse operating like that? And that would be great. And it kind of goes back to days of Tony La Russa. You know, when you had a lot of established veterans that had a strong voice in that clubhouse. You had well, not that Edmonds was kind of, I don't know what kind of a voice he was in the clubhouse, but you definitely know Albert was one of them. Chris Carpenter. There you go. Stop right there. You get a young player that gets out of line or does something questionable or does something to bring unwanted attention to a team, you pretty much bet Chris Carpenter, like Bob Gibson, going to be right in somebody's face when anything like that happens. So I just wonder these days, and I'm guessing, Elliott, maybe you can tell us who was the player that would have addressed this? Would have been Anthony Rizzo? Somebody else?
It would have been. I mean, you got Rizzo. Rizzo is the guy. Rizzo and Bryant would be the two guys that would say, "Hey, man, maybe rein it back a little bit." I mean, they're not the same type of guys of, you know, the same type of veterans when you had like Henry Blanco on the team or David Ross, you know, even Dex when he was there. I mean, there's a lot of young guys on this Cubs team, and you don't really see that crafty veteran. I mean, Lester would be the only one, but I think Lester's just letting these young guys do their thing. I don't see Lester getting into the middle of any of this.
I think
it's going to be Rizzo. It's going to be Bryant.
Yeah. And I think you really have to let these guys be themselves up to a point. You know, if they're bringing, you know,
there's a lot of fire.
If they're putting their fellow players in harm's way, guys. Yes, right. If they're putting fellow players in harm's way or bringing unwanted attention to, or unwanted attention to the clubhouse or anything like that, then yes, I think veterans step in. But yeah, I agree, and I think there's just I don't know what's going on in the St. Louis clubhouse. These days, it doesn't feel the same as it once did. And Chris, I'd like to know your opinion on this, and we'll let you get off here, man, because I know you got an early morning. We wanted to say hi. We missed you. But the clubhouse, think of the TLR days and to now. Obviously, with different leadership in that clubhouse, things are going to feel different, but they've never felt, to me personally, it's never felt farther away from where it was in the Tony La Russa era. And I thought one of the reasons Mike Matheny was brought in because he was familiar with that culture, that he could do that because he had been part of it at one point. And when he took over, there were still plenty of veterans and things that were still left in the clubhouse that could carry that forward. And Mike Matheny would almost be a smooth transition from one style of management to the next. It just seems like it's really gone somewhat off the rails.
Well, I know with La Russa, a lot of people thought he was emotionless at times, but there was no doubt in like the fire that he had in him. And Matheny, you occasionally see it if he's out, like, you know, arguing something, but he has such a laid back approach that he's got like that soft spoken kind of calmness. And it's kind of like the players have that attitude also. Not saying we don't have any guys with any fire, but you know, there's not really any hotheads or you know, anybody to kind of get something going other than just little positive quotes and, you know, kind of playing a little pat on the butt kind of stuff. You know, we got a great group of guys, but I just kind of think that, you know, maybe somebody with a little fire wouldn't hurt, kind of like a fan personality.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Tony's big thing was what can we do to get an edge? And even if it meant getting inside of another manager's head. And you got to say that like an easy target a few of those years would have been Dusty Baker, right? It definitely would have been other managers in the National League Central for periods of time. But he was able to do that. And I just look at Mike, and I think Mike hasn't arrived at that yet, where he's able to do that. You'd have to argue, right? And none of us want to even think about the possibility of this, but is Madden inside of Mikey's head? You know, in some way, shape, or form. We don't have to go that deep into it, guys. I'm just it's curious about.
They had a few yelling matches between the dugout last year.
I guarantee you, if La Russa would have stuck around, there would have been like 16 more yelling matches back and forth, especially that the Cubs have established themselves now and have arrived. I tell you, it would have been a totally different story dugout to dugout than it is right now. So right now the Cardinals seem to just be a little bit more frightened than what they normally are. And Chris, I know we're treading on delicate territory here based on the group.
Right.
If we start bringing Mike's name into this and criticizing anything, you know, that's going to set off a chain reaction that could destroy the station. So,
oh man, I think hashtag fire Matheny. That's like a movement.
It really is. All right, man. I know you got an early morning, so we'll let you go. And we'll get you back on here at a better time for you.
Right on. Hey, it's good talking to you guys.
Yeah, man.
Take care,
Take
guys.
care. We'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Bye.
See ya.
All right. Probably woke him up. So yeah, moving off of just the antics that have happened in the game, all the sideshows that we're observing. The last series, Cubs Pirates, what happened? Not very nice guests, right? That came to Wrigley.
No, they came in, they hit homers, they hit with men in scoring position, and the Cubs didn't. They certainly did the Cubs certainly did the second game, and they looked great. They hit homers. They had timely hitting. They had hitting with 2 outs. But I think tonight they were 0 for 7 with men in scoring position. So it added up to not putting very many runs on the board today. But the Pirates got all their runs via the homer today, and so did the Cubs. So it was smacking the ball into the bleachers day, even though the wind was blowing in, which is crazy. So you don't normally see that. You don't normally have a day with the wind blowing in where all your runs come via the homer.
Yeah, and on days like that, it's how many hits can you get? How many guys can get on before the guys that end up doing that? That's usually comes out on top. So what I take is that
right,
Pirates had a few more guys on board.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 6-1. I mean, 9 hits to 7 hits today. So, I mean, yeah.
It's not a big hit disparity. It's just enough guys got on before the guys that got the big hits.
Correct.
So the Pirates took 2 out of 3, right?
Yep, the Pirates are barreling up the ball. They look good. They are. I mean, they look good right now. Can they continue this kind of play? I don't think so. I mean, I think you got a lot of guys playing out of their. I mean, look. I mean, Cervelli, great catcher. I mean, the guy was 2 for 5 today with 3 RBIs. I mean, he was barreling up the ball. You got Bell, who's good. I mean, that guy is going to be a good sustained player. But then you got your ex-Cardinal Frazier. He's an ex-Cardinal, right?
No, Frazier, no.
Isn't he ex-Cardinal? Who am I thinking of? Not marked. Anywho, their leadoff guys hitting 300, which I don't see him hitting that way the rest of the season. So I don't know. The Pirates are playing well. They're getting off to a hot start. So we'll see what happens here in the next 4 weeks. I don't see them still sitting at the top of the NL Central at the end.
No, yeah, I don't see how that's gonna happen either. But I will say that the Cardinals homestand didn't go much better. In fact, it was almost a duplicate, right? It was they were 1-2 against the Milwaukee Brewers, and before that, they were 1-2 against the Diamondbacks. Yes, I know the Diamondbacks are a good team.
Yep.
But all of those games, I mean, you could see a scenario in almost every one of those games where the Cardinals should have taken advantage of opportunities that they did not. And not even every opportunity, just a few of them or half of them, and the series comes comes out much different. I saw a number today that the Cardinals over the last 168 games are 84-84 at home. Now,
God, that's where you need to win games.
Totally different, right? I mean, when the Cardinals were humming, they were humming. Here's a difference between now and then, right? And maybe it'll turn around this year once they get their motor going. I'm not sure, but the difference between 5 years ago and today, these National League Central teams, a lot of them hated going in there because the Cardinals always had one of the better home records in baseball.
It was always when the Cubs went into Busch Stadium, if we take one, it was probably going to be a good series. If you take two, you had to have been playing out of your mind. If you could sweep in St. Louis, then something went wrong with the Cardinals.
Had the flu.
Right.
Right, but it hasn't been that way for a while now. I mean, you start getting that many games, that means the last 2+ years, they have struggled to win at home. When you're 500 at home, no wonder you've missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. Right. And when you don't handle your business against Central Division teams, this is what happens. They're now 3-3 against the Brewers. Now, if you're going to think you're wild card team, that means you think you're going to finish ahead of them. Right. You're not going to do that dropping a home series to them. So they went 2-4 on their first homestand this year. So the trend not changing. They're not winning at home. That's a problem. Hopefully they can turn it around and start playing some decent ball at home. The fans at least deserve it. Well, you don't mean that, but hopefully the Reds are elixir because they're on the road now, and they're playing Cincinnati for a 4-game set. The Cardinals, to take care of business, quote unquote, you got to take 3 or 4.
Right. Seemed like it tonight.
Off to a good start tonight. 13-4 was the final. 4 home runs, 12 hits. Cincinnati 3 errors.
Holy cow! Well,
yeah,
that is not a good start to a home series for them.
No, it's actually not. But I want to go back quickly to the Milwaukee series just to comment a little bit on, what was the issue then? That what was the big thing? And if you want to parallel the Cubs Pirates series, what were you seeing that's kind of reflective of the first 9 games of the year for your team? Like, what were you seeing that kind of in the last series that, like, okay, yeah, it's been inconsistent hitting, it's been pitching. What have you been seeing? Right. I'm guessing you're going to say offense.
I mean, it is. I mean, the Cubs took 3 out of 4 from the Brewers at Milwaukee. I was hoping to get out of there with an even split.
Oh shit! Sorry. You can't hear that, but my laptop's making noise.
Oh. So they look good. They struggled a little bit again with hitting with runners in scoring position. The bullpen had been outstanding. You saw the hiccup today with Justin Wilson, where he kind of looked like 2017 Justin Wilson, giving up 4 runs, giving up 2 homers, walking 3 men. I'm hoping this is just a blip because he's looked pretty decent so far this season when he's been put in. But again, today was no timely hitting. Not that these guys weren't hitting the ball, they were just hitting at people. And I think right now they're getting bit by the Vapid bug. So we'll see where it starts to go. Got the Braves coming in, so I would like to see the Cubs, take a sweep here with the Atlanta Braves.
But the Braves, however, remember we talked on Sunday night, the Braves were ahead in most offensive categories. Now I don't know who they've been playing, but they're no longer in first place. They're 7-5. So okay, they've slowed down a little bit.
Regress towards the mean.
They've slowed down a little bit. They're 7-5. But they are a winning team. Philly is a winning team.
Philly, yeah.
Washington and St. Louis are tied in record, 6-7 as of tonight. And the beloved Marlins, 3-9.
I mean, look at right now. The Washington Nationals are 6-7. Do we feel like the Washington Nationals are going to continue on this sustained 500 playing? No.
They got too many good pitchers to do that.
Right. Do we think that the Reds are going to continue on this 2-10? Yes.
Yeah, right. There are a couple of them that are very easy. Here's my favorite.
Right. Padres,
my beloved
yes.
Padres, 4-9. It's a good batting average, though. It's 308.
Yeah.
That's Hall of Fame territory there. Anyway, I said the word Marlins, so I want to hear it again.
And this happened live on the radio. Guillermo at Cubs opening day.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
And the windup and the pitch. Oh, God, a home run on the first pitch of the game.
Welcome, Derek Jeter, and that concludes our Marlins coverage for the season.
I love it. I love that that concludes our Marlins coverage for the season.
The guy that was at the game loves them, and what kind of a feeling would that be? You know your team's going to struggle this year. They just let 3 potential all-star players. They dealt them all
right
from your outfield. They depleted your outfield. You go there okay, well, it's opening day. Let's see a little bit of magic. We know it's going to be a long year, but maybe you can take the home opener from all the adrenaline and everything going on. First pitch, boom,
yeah.
Everything that anybody's been saying this offseason to trash your team in one pitch is shit. I didn't expect my long season to start on the first pitch. I expected to start feeling it in May or June. But yeah. Another interesting thing. So what led to that whole conversation on that show, by the way, was a story that they were talking about, and I've got it up right now. To avoid Miami courtroom, Marlins claim citizenship in the British Virgin Islands. It's a story.
How the hell can they do that?
I don't know. They're
in freaking Miami.
I haven't read it, but I
Wait,
just
how
Googled.
can a team have citizenship?
I'm not sure, Elliot. I'm not a lawyer, but they were talking about this on the show, which led to that clip. So that clip was obviously recorded on opening day, but the story talking about it, they brought that clip back in. But I do remember them talking about this. So it was a report, article from the Miami Herald. And I love how it's. I'm going to read the first line on here, but it's MiamiHerald.com. If you just search Marlins, British Virgin Islands, you'll see it. This article by Douglas Hanks starts off root for the International Offshore Holding Corporation.
Oh my God.
The Miami Marlins are claiming corporate citizenship in the British Virgin Islands in an effort to have a federally appointed arbitrator take over the lawsuit by Miami and Miami-Dade County to recover share of profits from Jeffrey Loria's $1.2 billion sale of the team to Derek Jeter and partners last fall. I'll stop there. But I don't know how it's possible. It just, whenever you kind of hear about a scandal or something illegal or anything to do with money or stashing away money or avoiding things, you always hear about offshore accounts. So
sketchy, man. Sketchy.
It's sketchy, but right. I mean, ever since this deal has happened, I mean, not even ever since the Jeter ownership group took over. When Jeffrey Loria took over, if nobody remembers this, he owned the Expos at one point and sold. I'm not sure who he sold it to, but they were playing part of their games in, I want to say, Puerto Rico.
MLB just needs to stop giving Major League Baseball teams to Jeff Loria.
Well, I'm pretty sure they will. I'm pretty sure he's done. But they played. I could be wrong. I think 25, maybe more games. I think in Puerto Rico that year as home games, like the Expos did.
5 years. The Marlins are going to be in Vegas.
That might be the whole new ownership group's angle. It could be. It could be their long-term goal. Who knows? But they do have a stadium deal, or I don't know what the. I don't know how that all shapes up, man. I'm not interested enough to read what would bind them to Miami. Is it that stadium? Is it a commitment to that? Who knows? But
the tax commitment or what?
Right. But what's funny about this is Loria owned the Expos, and then he bought the Marlins. I think I'm probably going to be wrong about this. I think he sold it. I think Major League Baseball acquired it, the Expos, before they became the Nationals.
Right.
But what's funny about that, I remember reading this, is that when he took over the Marlins, like they took all the shit away from the Expos, like all the scouting reports, like all computers and everything, and they all went down to Miami. So you have the Expos sitting there with like no scouting reports. Like organization had no computers. No wonder they were playing like games in other countries, because they really, what a shame it happened to the Expos in Montreal. And look at Jeffrey Lorton, look no further than him, and then look what he did to him in Miami.
And then MLB made Andre Dawson go into the Hall of Fame as a freaking Expo.
Throw a bone to Montreal then. I mean, maybe the Marlins end up back in Montreal. Who knows?
I know that city's still vying to get back a baseball team. So
yeah, and they probably deserve a shot at it from an ownership group that's committed.
Yeah.
I don't know how baseball would work in Vegas. I know that I would have to think, Elliot, I have no idea. I'd have to think there'd be some pretty strong opposition from like Los Angeles and others.
I don't know. The Knights, the Golden Knights, are doing really well. Made the playoffs this year. They were one of the hottest hockey teams, and they seem to fill the stadium. So
the Raiders are moving there, right?
Yeah, and now that you're gonna have an NFL team, you've got an NHL team. It makes sense.
It does.
To put an MLB team.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, who knows? Maybe you see an NBA team go there, but who watches NBA? and I know it's probably, I think it's like the number 2 grossing major league team or major league organization. So
you think about it, Elliot, right? Think about how these regular seasons work in all of these sports. NFL plays once a week, right?
Yeah.
Probably won't have an issue drawing in Vegas. I'd be real curious to see how 81 games can draw in Vegas. Because we know that, the population there, yes, it's significant. How many loyalists?
I think it's close enough to enough major cities for people to drive to that, you get Diamondbacks fans that would drive up from Phoenix. It's only a few hours. You got your LA teams. The fans would go out there to see games. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you get some teams or some fans from New Mexico and Oklahoma. I don't know. Texas, that western part of Texas. I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of a barren right now out there for sports. So I think all these
when you start talking about that region, you have the Diamondbacks and everything in that area. I'm just curious as to what kind of opposition they would get from other teams that have.
I don't think they would because they're established at this point and they have their fans and they're not going to switch over their fans. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get those people, the implants that are coming from all over the country that are clamoring for some transplants, implants, inbred. Transplant.
Yes,
kind of like what we were. I actually, when we moved out to Charlotte, I didn't mind cheering for the Panthers when I was out there.
You know why? You know why you didn't mind?
Because the Bears were so bad. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I've slowly started the transition to adopt because my boys are probably going to be cheering for the Panthers.
I know, and
I'm not going to make them cheer for the Bears. Now they don't have a choice in baseball.
My big conundrum is: do I allow my son to become a Green Bay Packer fan?
Oh no,
no. The answer is no.
That is just a strange combination of fan. Let me explain myself. especially in the region I lived, Central Illinois. I just never understood. And I mean, unless, okay, so my dad was born in Wisconsin. Okay. Or if you got a family tie or some
that makes sense.
Get it, right? But you think if you're a Cub fan, you're an all Chicago person. It just feels like it should be that way. Like I'm an all Chicago.
Most people are. And there's been a lot of discussions. How can you be a Chicago Cubs fan and cheer for the fucking Green Bay Packers?
I have no idea. It's strange.
It's not right.
No, it's unnatural.
Yeah, it's like saying I like the White Sox too. No, you fucking don't.
No, you don't.
Do not like the White Sox.
Yeah, people give me a funny look too until I explain to them. I'm obviously, who I root for in baseball, but I'm a Bears fan because when I grew up, we didn't have a team in St. Louis.
Right. And the Rams were there, but you were already a Bears fan.
I was already.
Yeah, you don't change.
Yeah, so I still say I stayed regional, and I guess some parts of Illinois, you could say the Packers, Milwaukee, and Green Bay is close enough, fine. But the Bears Packers the Cubs Packers combination, never really understood that one. So anyway, all right, man. I think we've covered all we need to tonight. We certainly need to save a little bit for hopefully tomorrow. If things can work out, we'll be back on tomorrow once Pete is available and back. He might not be in good condition when we are back tomorrow. He did already warn us that he's going to be a few bottles deep. So
yeah, hey, I'm ready for it.
We'll see how that works out. All right, man. Elliott, I didn't prepare for this. Can you do it?
I will give it the
good college effort.
Give it the good college effort. That's right.
All right.
So you can find us at teamofrivalspodcast.com. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Public Radio.
Radio Public.
Radio Public.
Radio Public there, but that's fine.
Yeah. And on our YouTube channel. Usually it's posted right away up there. You can find us at Team of Rivals Pod on Twitter. You can find me at TOR_Elliott on Twitter as well for all our musings and rantings about baseball and everything else. We are also on Google Play. So, and don't forget the team store on Zazzle.com. You will search for Team of Rivals Podcast. He's got to put in the whole thing. So, anywhere else? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it all. Maybe
Facebook.com, search Team of Rivals Podcast and go over there.
Team of Rivals Podcast on Facebook. That might have been the only thing that you didn't get. But yes, you can get to the team store if you want one of our T-shirts that would support us. Go to teamofrivalspodcast.com. You'll see at the top that'll be Team Store. That'll take you to a website called Zazzle that Pete loves to say. So
if you want to email us, you can email us at theshow@teamofrivalspodcast.com.
Yep. Last thing right there. All right. The other thing too, Radio Public. There is a player at the top of our website. If you want to listen to us on that, that's great. If you want to download the Radio Public app, search Team of Rivals Podcast. We're on there. Every time you listen, it costs you nothing. It's like listening to a regular podcast like you do, but it throws a few pennies our way, helps us cover costs of putting the show out every month. We greatly appreciate if you could do that. If not, listen to the podcast however you want. We don't care. We just care that you listen, rate us, review us, share us with your friends. Every little rating and review helps us out, raises us up, makes us more visible in searches. So we greatly appreciate that. I also want to thank Chris Lawless for letting me wake him up tonight. I'm not sure if he's asleep or not, but thank Chris Lawless for supporting us on his Facebook page, Cardinals Nation 24/7, and the group Cardinals Nation. I want to thank Jim Cromer and Two Birds on a Bat. They have mentioned us now on several shows. And I really enjoyed that show. They have Benji Molina on that thing. Steve Flowers is another co-host that frequents that. But that is a great perspective on the Cardinals. They're local right there. But Benji gives a lot of insight you can't get in a lot of other places. If you haven't listened to them, please listen to Two Birds on a Bat. And there's a lot of other great podcasts out there if you like listening to baseball, because we know most of us that are into podcasts listen to more than one. Meet Me at Musial is another great one if you're a Cardinals fan. And Elliott, I'm not sure if you tune into any other Cubs specific ones, but feel free to mention them if you want to, or any Facebook pages or groups or anything like that.
If you really love Cubs baseball, BleacherNation.com, those guys do a great job over there. I know they're probably one of the biggest ones. Bleed Cubby Blue is a good one, and A View from the Bleachers is another one. So also, if you're a fan of Star Wars, Ron and the guys over at Meet Me at Musial did a real nice culmination talking about the Star Wars Rebels animated series and going through all of that. It was awesome. So that is another passion of all of ours is Star Wars. And if you haven't seen Rebels and you are a Star Wars fan, it is some of the best writing that is out there, next to Clone Wars. It'll make you appreciate some of the movies a little bit more, and it has tie-ins to everything in a lot of the lore.
Yeah, so, well said, man. And thank you for bringing that up. I should have mentioned that. I couldn't have mentioned it last show because we recorded that on Monday of this week. And Daniel Shoptaw, who had been on our preseason show that covered the Cardinals, he's the one of the co-hosts at Meet Me at Musial, invited me on because it was funny because I was looking through their tracks and I noticed all their bonus episodes are like Star Wars. So I messaged him like, this is really funny because you, Pete, and I could easily do a Star Wars podcast if we wanted to, right?
Oh,
not that we do a successful one because there's like a million of them out there, but we could easily cover way more time doing that. But I thought it was interesting that those guys did it. So he invited me on to talk about it. You know, we don't get to do that often. I don't get to have deep Star Wars conversations with people on a regular basis. So it was a lot of fun for me. I may have been overexcited. But
I mean, everybody was excited because I think that was probably the first time that you guys all got to talk about the end of Rebels and everything that had gone on. Right. And I don't want to spoil anything, but especially this last season and the things that happened that kind of changed the way that we look at the Star Wars lore and the things that could come out of this, whether it's the comics or the books or the next animated series that could be coming. So, yeah, or even the new trilogy that's going to be held by Ryan Johnson. So
right, no, it was a great conversation. Really thank Daniel for allowing me on there, and the other two our participants. I'm going to screw that. Tina and Tito were the other two that joined that night. So it was a lot of fun talking to all of them. It's always fun talking to somebody, a group of people who are knowledgeable and love something as much as you do. So it was great. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Elliott. All right, everyone. Well, it's I said it was going to be a short show. I lied. It's pretty much a normal length, but we hopefully will be back on tomorrow night with Pete at full strength and full Cub fan rage, and we'll throw that right in your face. We'll hit you over the head with it tomorrow. All right, everyone. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye, everyone.